I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It looks like, and I know that Dr. Fleming has a lot of information he's going to cover today. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that. So again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm Jacqueline Hurley. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Solution Reach. I've been with Solution Reach for more than a decade, and I'm excited to host this webinar today. With that, we're going to go ahead and introduce to you Dr. Chad Fleming. He is the CEO and owner of Wichita Optometry. Being a private practice optometrist and business owner, this includes a 4-partner, 7-doctor, 4-location optometry practice, responsible for clinical care, staff management, accounting, business IT manager, and website developer. He is a consultant and a coach for optometrists in business and their career development in helping them become more efficient, meeting today's demanding changes in technology. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Dr. Fleming.
Jacqueline, thank you for the introduction. Today, next 50 minutes, we'll have a fun time talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's technology. Most importantly, how to take all the excitement and all the noise from all the technology that's out there and make your practice more efficient and more profitable. So there's a lot of opportunities that we have in our industry to invest in technology. Hopefully today I will have gone through a lot of information, but most importantly, when you get the slide handouts and you get a chance to review it, there's going to be more information in there than I can even talk about. What I wanted to do is basically expose people to all the different options, not only within our space in optometric technology, but software and technology that I'm using outside of optometry to complement optometry and the running of a small business. So here are my disclosures. Sorry about the fine small print. I think in the conversion to go into the webinar, it made it a little smaller. But in stepping into this, we'll talk about shaping perception with technology. We're going to talk through a couple of things here of how scheduling does that, how we can shape our patients' perception of our office through scheduling, through marketing, through the patient experience, and then finally, believe it or not, those touch points that our staff have with the patient can communicate ignorance or can communicate a great education or a great awareness of technology today, which goes to competency. And so unfortunately, in today's day and age, technology reflects competency. And so if you're not technologically advanced, your practice is perceived as incompetent. And so we will address some of that. To begin with, first thing I want to address is probably my favorite thing to address, what I think is the most important when it comes to your outside appearance of your office, and that is scheduling an appointment. And through the years, I've had the experience of seeing this develop from the days of calling in for an appointment when you'd get a postcard and get a recall card in the mail. A patient they would call into the office between, say, 8 and 5, and they would try and schedule an appointment. Hopefully they could get a hold of the receptionist and they could get their appointment scheduled, all the way to today's day and age of you can schedule anytime, anywhere, and the schedule is completely available for the patient to schedule in real time. So what I think is important with that is, what are yesterday's expectations? So some of you, unfortunately, we are in the process of buying our 5th practice. And in doing that, one of the things in incorporating another practice into our corporation, or Wichita Optometry, is that we take practices that maybe haven't kept up with technology or doing things, as this slide shows, yesterday's expectations, and then moving them forward into what the day and age that we are now. So yesterday's expectations, appointments were made when convenient for the office. It was all about the office. We're open from 8 to 5. That's when you can schedule an appointment. If it's on the weekends, you can't schedule an appointment unless we're open. The phone call usually is 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And for those of you who manage staff, you understand that this can even be longer than that. So we want to stay away from the high costs of multiple staff having to schedule, and you want to use technology to reduce staffing costs. So in the old way of doing it, the patient had to carve out time during the day to do this. The office staff had to be on the phone, busy scheduling those appointments, getting the patient into the schedule. So what we have in today's expectations is we live in a me society. I call it a very narcissistic society. That might be a little bit extreme, but we definitely live in a society when it is all about me, or even if we don't admit it's about me, it's important that we are acknowledged, and that if it's not convenient for me, then I tend to move on to find somebody that makes it convenient about me, to the point of, Amazon, you order something on Amazon and you get it in 3 days, and you wonder why it's taking so long because you want it in 24 hours. So same thing when you're scheduling appointments. A practice that's only available to make appointments between 8 and 5, that's an inconvenience for the patient. A practice that even has an online scheduling piece that says choose a day that works best for you, and then you have to get back with the patient, that's not specific to time and date, makes it very inconvenient for patients. You want something that's easily to incorporate with their calendar, you're easy to do business with, and they can literally schedule themselves 24/7. So I would say tomorrow's expectations, which in my opinion is today, and we're even running past this to where this is going to become yesterday's expectations. Majority of patients are wanting to schedule when it's convenient for them and scheduling online. So we have available scheduling times. All of our doctors have a schedule that has time slots that are 15 minutes long, and these time slots are any. So basically a patient can get on and they can schedule an appointment. We do have a gatekeeper that reviews these appointments, just making sure that they have the right insurance. We do accept that insurance and that time is still available. But it has worked really well. We get lots and lots of appointments Monday morning. We're closed on Saturdays and Sundays, so we will get appointments rolling in from the weekend. Monday morning, they're ready to have basically the gatekeeper check the box and say, yes, let them go into the schedule. Naysayers will typically say that, well, you can't, you're going to have people that double book in a time slot. Actually, in reality, that doesn't happen very often. And so this is helping us keep our schedules full. It's also helping us meet patients where they're at. So this is a technology I believe is non-negotiable in today's day and age. If you currently have the technology, kudos to you. Keep going forward, keep making it better, keep making it more user-friendly. If you don't have the technology or not invested in the technology, you're definitely a couple steps behind, because patients are looking for a practice that is easy to do business with. This creates actually less headaches too than what you initially might think. So important scheduling, being there for patients. That's just one of those just hacks and things that are making practices very successful and filling up appointment slots. So next thing is online marketing technology. Like I said, I'm going to hit a lot of tech things, a lot of important things. Hopefully you pick a pearl or two as we go along, and then you can always fire questions to Jacqueline in the chat. So again, this is a little smaller. I'll see if I can make it larger. 72% of consumers want mobile-friendly websites. 94% of smartphone owners look for local information on their phone. We get analytics at the end of each month. We've got hundreds of patients per month that are accessing us through their smartphone. Our website makes it very easy to just click on the number and you can call us. I see the analytics just to know where patients are coming from, where they're calling in from, it's from their smartphone. So your website's got to be mobile friendly. 70% of mobile searches lead to an action that's taken within an hour of the search. So people want it now. Again, this goes back to having a website that incorporates the online scheduling so they can get on your website, they find you, they then can schedule an appointment. They want to do it now. They don't want to make a call. They want to see what times are available and convenient for them. They want to schedule that appointment. And when patients come in, our doctors are trained. If they're new patients, hey, what brought you in today? Just kind of getting a little bit background on them. A lot of people say it's easy to schedule appointments with you. It was easy to get in, and you guys just made it a seamless process. This last statistic, 40% or almost half of online searchers will click on another mobile result if the website they originally clicked is not mobile compatible. So if your website looks like you are not competent and it's old in these days, if you haven't refreshed your website with a new design, new look, or updated your current look in the last 3 years, you're unfortunately out of date. It used to be a 7-year cycle. Now it's getting to be 3-year max cycle that you want to update this. Next thing is quality content. Content remains the key. I will jump down to the last point. 71% of online users feel that videos leave a positive impression of the business. A video on the front page is a current expectation. If you don't have that currently, I'd highly recommend you have a video of your practice doctors. You can get that done for $500. You'd be surprised. Hiring somebody that maybe does it as a side hustle. You don't have to pay a whole lot of money for this. You can get it embedded into YouTube, put it on a YouTube channel, and then embed it into your website. You're up and running. We even take that a step further, and we've created a video. All of our locations have a 50-inch monitor that loops the video. It's about a 45-minute video that talks each of the doctors, get a chance to present and talk about different aspects of their recommendations. And then we have commercials that are done free of charge by the vendors that we utilize. So content is extremely, extremely important. A lot of times it's not near as expensive as you think. Again, with the videos, I'm trying to highlight some key pieces as we walk through this 50-minute talk. Videos is a big take-home point. So if you don't have that on your website, that is definitely a hack. That is definitely working smarter, not harder, in trying to communicate your message to your community. Videos speak 1,000 words. Life's gonna be a lot easier if you got a video for patients, and they are used to it. Even if you had a video, they come in, they check in, and you need to review some stuff for them, or you want to talk about your office and the experience, send them a text message that has the video link that they can watch while they're in the reception area. Next thing, a little statistic here, 71% of consumers who experienced a quick and effective response to an issue on social media were more likely to recommend that business to others. Unfortunately, I bring this percentage up here because it is extremely important to respond as a business owner to social media. Unfortunately, as healthcare providers, we have HIPAA guidelines that we have to follow. And when I do a talk about technology, talk about reviews, Google reviews, Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews, whatever it is, people are asking, how do we respond to a negative feedback? And we get negative feedbacks too. We have an agency that works for us that keeps us HIPAA compliant. They're #1 nationwide in HIPAA compliance for hospitals, for clinics like ours, and they've been extremely helpful. And you can't acknowledge that the patient is yours. You can basically acknowledge that we are available. Please call us at so-and-so. So you can't retaliate, or you can't respond in a way that acknowledges they are a patient at your office. If so, you will get into litigation, and there have been large litigation awards given to patients where hospitals and clinics acknowledge that that patient was part of them, and then the patient comes back on you and says that you have invaded their privacy and broken HIPAA regulations. So be very careful of that. I pulled that slide in because That is always a question that I get, always something people want me to comment about. So do respond, but it needs to be very simple in the fact of thank you for your review. Please call us at such and such, and we'd be happy to work with you. Next little cookie crumb here is pay-per-click advertising. Pay-per-click advertising, this is just knowledge for you to take home as far as working smarter. The website companies will put what are called cookie crumbs on the website that tracks who's visiting your website, allows you to see analytics of who's on your website, who is coming and going, how long they're staying, and allows them then to tag advertisements to those people who are coming to your website. This is a little back end benefit that if you have a good website company, they can be very helpful in grabbing more patients in a way that is done by, pretty much anybody that you're going online to visit. So this is very helpful in the analytics, is ad retargeting with cookies. That usually goes through your website vendor. Here's a couple of search engine optimization strategies. When I'm get people consulting that I'm working with as far as their online strategies, one of the areas you want to look at and make sure it's very strong in just search engine optimization. Our current search engine optimization allows us to be on the first page of Google searches. We're very specific to keywords. And also I'll talk about here in a little bit keywords. That's kind of morphed into what would people actually ask their assistant like Siri for directions. But most importantly, search technology is going from keywords of eye doctor, whatever your town is, to more of a how much does an eye exam from an optometrist near me cost. You need to be aware of that because that changes your online strategy. It allows you to be a lot more effective when you know these things. You don't have to manage them. You just need to make sure your website company or who's working with your website is aware of these things, and you're bringing this to their attention that you want search engine optimization that is going to be effective for what patients are searching for. So search engine optimization, very important. Siri, Cortana, Alexa has changed this. Digital assistants have changed the game and continue to change the game. So just be aware of if a website company is working with you, or if you're frustrated because you're not reaching the first page, what are they keying in on? Are they keying in actually what questions are going to be asked in the search? Fortunately, you can do your own homework and just go to Google search, start typing in stuff. And the way Google search works is they will give you the top 5 or 10 most common searches. And so hopefully your company's doing that. If not, you need to run and look for something different, because it should not cost you. People ask me all the time, cost wise, you're going to spend for a good website company, you're going to spend about $800 to $1,500 a month on this. You should be getting 3 to 4 new patients a month, which will more than pay for that. And so that's something you can look into. If you're paying more than that, wow, even as a big office, I would just reassess who you're utilizing. Again, I'm going through some of this a little quicker, and that's okay. It's meant to spark questions, so please send questions to Jacqueline in the chat, and that way we can discuss them towards the end. I'll try and leave a little bit of time so I can dial in on any specific questions that somebody might have. Here's a couple pearls for online marketing. Analytics, they're key. Even as a practice owner, you want a high-level view. In managing and running our 4 locations and 8 doctors, I'm still looking at the analytics because I want to know what is moving the needle in our office, what is bringing patients in, because as the CEO, I'm responsible for basically the external, what's bringing patients in, how are we being viewed in the community, what's growing our practice, the staff and the people that we have, and in the culture. So as an owner of your practice, you need to know what the analytics are as far as what's bringing your patients in. Online pearls, personalize it, automate it, and then reuse the content. So You can utilize somebody that pumps out content, or very easily you can create content, keep it fresh on your website, and you will be surprised that you will get visits and people coming into your practice because of who you are online and the impact that you're making online. All right. This slide, I apologize, it looks a little bit clumpy. I don't know how that happened, but it must have been a formatting thing. Basically, this next section is patient experience, the interaction from when the patient hears about you, when they schedule an appointment, coming all through the office, to then when they exit. There's fantastic companies that we can utilize that take care of this patient experience for us, from scheduling the patient, to notifying the patient, to reminding the patient, to scheduling the next appointment for the patient, to having the patient easily put it into their digital calendar. That's something we're working on right now. I want every patient that schedules to be able to plug it right into their iCal, Google Cal, Outlook calendar, whatever it might be, to make it really easy for them to do business with us. So here's a little deep dive into some, just over the couple of last couple of years, it's probably been more than that, but just studies that I've looked into, and just kind of accumulating different things that I've spoke on. We currently will lose patients or have a lack of new patients because Generation X, Y, millennials will correlate current technology with competency. And what this means is they have been trained by the world, by our society, to equal competency with technology. So if they're not seeing technology, they're assuming you're outdated, things are old, doctor's not keeping up. The doctor may be super sharp, but they're getting a bad perception, and there's a disconnect in their minds with an office being competent, but yet they're not seeing the key features that an office needs to have to remain competent. So you'll see your office demographic shift to older patients because they've just gone there a long time, and your new patients, incoming new patients, will be low. I think our percentage of new patients per month averages 15%. Some of that is our ability to even schedule new patients in, as far as just available times, but you should have a good percentage of newer patients coming in. One of the things in controlling culture that I like to do is I like my staff, a handful of them, in an iPad. Some are working on MacBook Pros. Just a technology. I love when they use dictation. Patients are like, oh, wow, you're dictating into your iPad, into the chart. That's pretty cool. Why? Because the patient's dictating text messages, and now they think that's technologically advanced, and they're watching your staff do it. So remember, as the leader of your group, as the owner, you control not technology, you control culture, and culture perception is key with technology. Technology will control that. Charting, this is a no-brainer. I shouldn't see this, but people still to this day, I work with offices that are struggling they've incorporated EMRs, but they're struggling to go from desktop to more mobile setups. A number of years ago, the use of desktops used to be the primary usage of technology. Now it's actually eclipsed and gone past the 50% that people use phones or tablets, whether it's a Microsoft Surface, whether it's an iPad that they're using. When patients see a lot of desktops, that is now starting to data practice. So you need to be aware of that getting some of these mobile devices is key to perception. And side note, it's less expensive to put an iPad into a staff's hand versus putting a full computer into their hand. Better communication, your EMR you should be utilizing. So this is a little hack that brings patients back. You should be using better communication. For example, I now do all of my exams with an iPad. The reason is I can immediately do markup in my browser of a photograph of, say, a lip view. I can take my Apple Pencil, and if you're not an Apple user and you're a Microsoft, big deal, same technology, just different. and I pull up the picture. I start drawing on the picture immediately. Patients have an aha moment when I'm pointing it at my meibomian glands, when I'm pointing at pictures on a retinal photograph and drawing right on those pictures. Patients, even older adults, really, you can watch their faces, watch them dial into, okay, I understand. There's something about a visual picture of seeing something written on. So for instance, if I come in here and I guess I can't write on it. I was going to do something really cool with my iPad, but it's not letting me write on this. So you can write on it and then uh, work with patients. So other key things I got on the right, that's just a list for you to look at. If you're not doing this already, you should be. It should all be automated. Again, that's much smarter than working hard and having staff actually do the labor to do it. There's great systems out there that can automate everything on the right, make it very easy. I would look at an automated system that's not only text messaging, emailing, but you have a good phone system that's connected into your automated system. And now we have great companies that put all that together under one piece. We use VoIP, which is a part of our automation system for patient reminders, schedule reminders, and now we've got the phone piece with that. It's all incorporated into one technology. So that's just better communication. All right. Staff, real quick one on staff because I get questions on this. What are our policies on social media, wearable technology, phone policies? We allow, phones are limited. They can have access to their phones, but they need to just, not be on them all the time. We fought for a couple of years ago, we fought the smartwatches, and we've given up on that fight. We've given up on the fight of exposed tattoos. That was actually quite a while ago that we used to make them cover. I think we're in a day and age, tattoos we're fine with as long as they are, socially acceptable. Tattoos, social media, they cannot be on social media. We do have somebody that can watch our social media. So the Instagrams, the Facebooks, Pinterest, anything that we're doing, Twitter, we have social media kind of watches that to see if there's anything popping up that we need to be aware of. Phone policies, talked about that. Wearable technology, not a big deal. There's actually studies to show that Generation X, Y, and Millennials, so basically those born after 1980 are more productive when they have their technology around. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Depending on where you're at in the life cycle of your practice, you may be stressing over it, and most people, I think, are past that. So important here, this is probably of the most profitable, besides the way we're managing our optical in the last year, has been the most profitable for us, and that is tracking. Use technology to track what your staff is doing. I can, within minutes, look into who's selling the most frames, who's selling frames with the greatest margin, who's selling the most elite level progressives, customized progressives, who has the most patient using their own frames. If we have a staff member who jumps above 10, 12% when patients using own frame, that flags us. There's great technology out there. It's well worth the cost. I for getting some of that technology to do that. That's a tracking technology. I love it. I look at that all the time as the CEO. I want to know. I mentor our doctors. I work with the doctors. Just this last Friday, we had an all doctors meeting, and I went through the statistics. I said, okay, we believe in one day modality. What percentage of our patients are you fitting in one day modalities? And when we have one doctor who's 70%, and we have another doctor who's 28%, we can then open the discussion of, okay, you say you believe in the one days, but you're not prescribing that. Is there anything that's keeping you from prescribing? They might say, well, patient just, they have a big fit on the cost of it. So then we'll talk through presentation. Do you still present them with it? No, they came in and they look like they had 4 kids, so they probably don't have a whole lot of extra money, this and that. So I just assumed they would want a 1 month modality. So we talked through some of those conversations. of let's not stereotype the patient, let's present best options. And then in doing that, I can track that, I can look at that. The other thing is I can track frame board management. So we are currently on a 95% of our board is consignment based. We use a company that has helped us outfit all of our offices in a consignment model with some of the big vendors, and that has worked phenomenal. It's freed up a lot of cash flow. And in doing that, I can see what's selling, what's not selling. I know which frame lines are our best discounts, and I can kind of monitor that. So that helps us be profitable in a very low margin business in the optical. It actually can help make our margins quite good. Other things, benefits of EMR, you guys know this, increased coding accuracy. With that, does a friendly audit. Your EMR should do that. If you don't utilize that, make sure you're utilizing that. Why is that working smarter? Because it just keeps you from headaches down the road when you are audited, whether it's a paper audit, whether it's an in-person audit. You will at some time be audited. If you haven't been and you've never paid somebody to audit, I would highly recommend that you do. There's a lot of learning that can be done in that, and you can improve. One of the things for us, 92 codes, basically it's a 75-25% rule. 75% of your codes are going to be probably 014s, and 25% are going to be 012s based on the statistics, based on what Medicare, United Healthcare, some of those flag. Greatest advantages of the EHRs, and we've got that in there. That was just a study done. I just threw that slide in there. Here's the study that said the effects of old technology or the appearance of old technology. There's actually documented that in retail, if your optical is struggling or you don't feel like you are, or you feel like you're losing a lot of patients, your capture rate's low, you may look at the perception that people have of your optical. If it's low tech, they're assuming that your frames are out of date. They're assuming the styling. They're making a lot of assumptions in that, and those are subconscious decisions that people are making that they've been trained to make based on our current society. So we can't work against that. We have to work with that. So investing in updated technology in your optical or making it look up to date is key. You can do that very surprisingly inexpensive. We love IKEA. Oh my goodness, we love IKEA. So dispensing desks, I think we spent 200 bucks, if that, for all of our dispensing desks. When you have multiple locations, you just think outside the box. And so when we do that, yeah, we might have to replace. We bought a backup desk in case something went wrong, and our desks have looked great. And we're going on like year 3 at one of our locations. So next, let's talk about workflow efficiencies. I'm going to fly through this. For some of you, this bores you because you're like, I'm not going to spend the time to do this. I'll just keep doing it the way I've always done it. For some of you, this will spark a aha moment, and you'll be like, wow, that is why it's taking me so long. One of these workflow efficiencies literally saves our doctors an hour of charting a day, and they could get on here and they could speak for 15 minutes and just sell the technology. And it's a technology that's outside of the optometric space. So what is workflow? It's a sequence of, for us, administrative processes through which a piece of work passes from beginning to end. So every day you have a workflow. If your workflow is inefficient, you're going to spend a lot more time and effort in finishing your charts and getting through a day than other doctors who see the same number of patients will do, and the outcome is the same because some doctors have learned to be efficient, i.e. work smarter, and some are still just working harder and harder and harder. So one of the things we've improved in our workflows is we used a technology that is a shortcut. Basically, you type in shortcuts. We use Text Expander. There's some others I believe I've got in here that I'll reference. But you save 5 minutes 20 times a day, that's an hour a day. And so in your charting, a lot of your charting stuff is repetitive. So if we do an interpretation report of a visual field based on the ophthalmological guidelines of what needs to be in the report, we have that all pre-programmed. All you got to do is do 3 keystrokes. It pops up on our tablet or our computer, fill in a couple blanks, and boom, a paragraph goes in to our chart to chart that. Why we want to be smarter? Just life demands. We want work-life balance. We have things we want to do besides optometry. Optometry is a beautiful, great profession, but there's more to life than optometry. And you don't want to look back and have regrets that your life has been buried in your profession and you've missed out on your children growing up. You've missed out on the beauty of a relationship with other people, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a significant other. You've missed out on the beauty of relationships because you've been so buried within the difficulties and demands of an optometric life. Professional demands, those aren't going to stop. They're going to keep building and building, especially as you get busier, especially as you add doctors. Adding doctors has actually freed me to work on what I want to do. For me, clinic, I've been in clinic for 19 years, and I've gotten down to where I'm only in clinic a couple days of the week, and I get to run the business, work on the business, and it's made our business much more efficient and allowed us to grow because we have somebody working on the business. It balances out the professional demands. So whatever it might be for you, I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time on freeing yourself up to enjoy the life that you've been given. So workflows get you through the things you have to do to get you to the things you want to do. So studying workflows takes some time, takes some effort, but it's going to make you a lot more efficient and make you enjoy your day much better. So there's intentional management and there's unintentional management. The key thing I will put on this to balance out life and profession with technology, learn how to say no. Obviously, we've been talking about making technology work for you. And in life, it can allow you to get a lot more done and make your life a lot easier. But also, you've got to learn how to say no to opportunities and how to say no to things that look good and focus on just those things that are going to help you build and maintain the life that you would like to have. A couple of things with workflows. Again, this is going to be a high overview of it. And the reason sorry about that. The reason I'm going to overview this is because literally this workflows is a whole lecture to help individuals get their life back. So we're going to walk through this. If you need to dial in more with this, I've got it all in the slides. Calendar, two things, doodle.com, we use a bunch for scheduling when you have to schedule a lot of doctors, a lot of busy individuals. If you haven't checked that out, it will make your life a lot easier. If you're a staff member trying to get a couple doctors together, just send them a doodle that allows them to pick their times that they would be available, and then it matches up everyone that you send it to. It matches up the time and spits out the best time to schedule an event. So that works great. Everybody's familiar with Google Calendar or an equivalent. That is our bread and butter throughout our organization of 45, 50 employees. Everything's synced and works with our Google Calendar. Task workflows. I personally use Todoist, and I live on that because it's a project management to-do software. I've got doctors who utilize it. I have my managers utilize it. It allows me to not have to make a phone call or a text message when I need somebody to do something. It allows me to delegate things very easily. If you're a doctor and you feel like you're having a hard time getting things delegated and you always have to make a direct contact with that person, highly recommend you use a to-do type of software that allows you to sync and incorporate it amongst many users. I think it will make your life much, much easier. So I happen to use Todoist. I have no disclosures on that. I've used ToodleDo in the past. I've used Reminders. Reminders doesn't do the in-depth that I need, but those are some of the others. Storage workflow. We are large Evernote users across our organization. I love Evernote because I can dump in OCT scans. I can dump in things that I get from CE, that I get from reading. For instance, plaquenil retinopathy. I want to see a 5-line raster scan of retinopathy when the photoreceptor integrity line is compromised. I want a quick view of that. I put it in Evernote, I search it, boom, that picture comes up in the exam room so I can quickly analyze or show a patient what is abnormal. So I scan everything, everything goes into Evernote. I can't, like I said, this workflow thing is a whole hour lecture. I just wanted you guys to see this, and if you're not utilizing these things, you definitely need to be utilizing things. Across our organization, we use Google Drive. I have no interest in Google Drive. I actually use them because they have a business division that is HIPAA compliant that we can utilize. And so we put all of our resources through Google Drive. We put references, we scan in. So when we get we bought what did we buy? A Zeiss Claris 500, and we utilize that, and we put the scanning of the user's manual into Google Drive, so all staff members have access to that. I can dump presentations, we can dump patient care documents, we can dump any of our documents, and it's synced amongst all of our staff in Google Drive. It makes accessing it very, very easy. I put some other ones on there. Microsoft has got one too. So just wanted you guys to see that. Reality for the generations. Be aware that you treat different mindsets. You treat different perceptions. You have different people coming into the office. Baby boomers love the quality of a product. Think I don't know, I always use the old example of Craftsman wrenches. They didn't care what box it was. My dad, he'd get a Craftsman wrench and that thing would last forever. That's a baby boomer generation. Think how that applies to your office, applies to the way you do business. They're loyal. Product is most important. They prefer face-to-face interactions. Generation X, millennials, and Generation Y, you've got to understand them, or your business will go through attrition. You'll wonder why you don't have the younger crowd in there. We have an in-office brand of glasses. We have grown 25% year to year over the last 4 years, including COVID, in our optical, because we have an in-house brand that the millennials, the 40 and unders, love, because it's a value proposition, doesn't have a big, brand name that they know they're paying an exorbitant amount of cost for, and they can get it at a value of a Warby Parker, Costco, Sam's. They absolutely love it, and it's our in-house brand. Fantastic. But you got to understand, packaging is important. Our in-house brand has probably the best packaging of anything that we sell. And so the company that we have hired to put all that together does a fantastic job of making the experience of opening their glasses as exciting as having the new pair of glasses. You got to understand those generational differences to be successful. Cost of technology, it's going to go up and up and up. If don't work smarter, then your overhead's going to go up and up and up without being profitable. Technology is going to continue to be expensive. It's going to continue to grow and increase monthly costs. You have to exchange that in being more efficient. If you don't work on this, it's going to create what I see in practices as I've analyzed practices over the years, and that is a great practice that pays the doctor a salary, has no margin or has no profit margin, and basically that is a business not worth a whole lot of money. So work really hard to use your technology to your advantage. Practice value. When you invest in technology, the next generation is going to see your practice as very valuable, because again, their perception of value is going to be in the technology. As an extern site, we get students coming through. They are super excited that we are a private practice that does not have any ophthalmology within our practice. We have latest OCTs. We have cameras that are allowing us to do autofluorescence. We have LipiFlow, Inflammadry, tear osmolarity, all those things that many of you have. But those are important things because these students see that and they see value in the practices. And then their comments are like, yeah, this other practice, they're just dated. They didn't have any of this technology. Unfortunately, they view it on technology. So before we wrap it up, let's take some take-home points. We got a minute left here. Technology drives perception. So big take-home point in working smarter and not harder, that you have to control perception as a business owner. Perception is culture, and culture is everything. So if you're struggling to grow, if you're just wondering why your business is stagnant, look at your perception. Have a child of yours come in. Maybe you have an 18-year-old child or a 20-some-year-old child. have them come in, have them look at your office and say, and just ask them what they think. Ask your younger patients what they think. You've got to do the research to figure that out. But investing in technology, huge investment. There shouldn't be an office today that's not automating scheduling, text message reminders, all that good stuff should be occurring. Work smarter, not harder. One thing that we do that I love that's smarter is we used to have staff calling patients who had not been in for 2 years. We've got technology now that mines the data. So anyone that's been 2 years or more that hasn't been in, the technology grabs it, starts sending emails to this, and then lets us know if we want to continue to, if we want to call the patient, if we want to follow up with the patient. We get patients every month that are come in and are like, oh, I didn't realize it had been so long. It's a great way to take care of your patients, be an advocate for your patients, and provide great care for your patients. And they appreciate that. They appreciate that you cared enough to say, hey, you need to get in. And from a practice standpoint, it's very healthy for your practice. Take home point number 3, better workflow efficiencies, reduce staff costs. That's a big struggle when you scale up your business. I mean, we've gone from 1 location to 4 and now going to 5. You've got to have efficiencies in place to reduce those staff costs and make sure your staff, it's not going to reduce the number of staff you have as much as it's going to have them working on the right things to allow you to be more efficient and be able to see more patients. Number 4, competency is based on perception. I hate this one because competency should be based on the training of the doctor, the investment the doctor makes in keeping up with the research and investing their time and energy and resources into being the best optometrist they can. Unfortunately, perception is by the patient. What does the technology look like? I intentionally use an iPad, draw on the iPad, bring pictures up on the iPad, controlling the culture, controlling the perception of the patient. Also, I'm updating TVs just because our old TV that we're playing a loop through looks dated. You've got to invest in these things. This is the little things that people key in on that are important. So your competency is direct reflection of patient's perception. Number 5 is invest in technology. You want to do it. You want to do it wisely. You want to make sure there's a return on investment, and you want to make sure that it's a benefit for patients and a benefit for the office. You also want to look at companies that have consolidated the technology. Frustration I have is using multiple different companies. Instead, find a company that can solve many of your technology frustrations and invest in that one company, letting them do the many things that you're needing to do. You will also find out, like my example with the phones, actually that's going to be less expensive when you kill your phone line and do a VoIP with the company that does recall, patient engagement, scheduling, all that kind of thing. You're going to be way ahead when you're able to get rid of some of the other costs. So working smarter and not harder. I put in the title 6 ways. I think I've given definitely more than 6 ways of doing that. Hopefully one of those resonates with you. Feel free to reach out in the chat or ask Jacqueline questions. But I do appreciate the time that you've spent with this CE hour and spending the time to make your office better. Feel free to reach out to myself. And you can find my email through Jacqueline. If you have any specific questions, I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction or to give you maybe some hacks or some helps in things that I've talked about. So with that, question and answer time, Jackie, I can turn it back over to you and we can go from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for a great presentation. You really know your stuff, and I'm really excited to ask you a couple of these questions that I have. And if anyone has any questions at all, please just throw them in the Q&A box that's there. And we've got a couple, so we're going to talk about these for a minute. So one thing I noticed I was impressed with, first of all, I love that you talked about the different generations and how they are adapting to technology. Have you noticed that baby boomers are becoming more tech savvy?
They're definitely becoming more tech savvy, the baby boomers are, but you have to ride a delicate fence because right now all of our documentation can be signed digitally. We use a software that we send informed consents, we send all the paperwork and text it to them, and they can sign it right on their phone. I
Wow.
still have an iPad in every location to not make those patients who are not technologically savvy uncomfortable. So yes, the majority of baby boomers are continuing to adapt, but you're still running into some who are uncomfortable, and you
Yeah.
don't want a patient uncomfortable in your practice. So you want to just have that backup there. So we just pull out an iPad and have them sign.
Yeah, sounds like the key there is to give them options, right?
Yes, to push forward with technology, but to make sure that you're giving them options, and then they're also learning that the next time you're kind of training them, that the next time they come in, it's helping them to also move forward with their own technology. That's what we've seen.
I love that. Don't you think a lot of running an efficient practice is training your patients anyway to the expectations so that things can run smoothly?
That's the biggest hurdle that I've run into with leading doctors and leading managers is that patients are trainable. You want to respect the patient, you want to honor the patient, but they are trainable and they will behave the way you teach them to behave. And a lot of practices that I go into, and whether I'm consulting, whether I'm working as a mediator, the patient is running the practice. The owners are not running the practice. You're absolutely right.
Wow, that's really true. One other question I had is, how has your practice been impacted by the pandemic, Doctor?
Um, well, I appreciate that, Jacqueline, and I I don't know how to answer this because I know that there across our nation there's been um, a lot of sad things that have happened to small businesses, and there's been a lot of people with a big dream that their dream has been basically smashed in light of the pandemic, and it's been a very difficult time. So when I answer this very humbly and feel very blessed. We have we have done extremely well over the last year in how we've, I guess, managed it in patience. Yes, the pandemic, when it closed us down for a couple months, we weren't completely closed because we have a lot of medical management too. But once it opened back up, and in the Midwest, I think that maybe we had opened things sooner or people got out quicker. We had the second half of the year was our one of our best second halves of the years that I've seen in 20 years. And so this year, 2021, has really hit the ground running. I think the biggest thing for us is we utilized the time that we were down to reinvest and back up the truck on our investments into education, into time, into what can we do better once we reopen and we get back full speed. And I think that's really paid off, especially in our optical. I'm just, yeah. So it's been phenomenal, Jacqueline. And I know that
Good.
some other optometrists have also had the same experience, but I also want to respect anyone who's had a difficult time
Yeah.
walking through this because it hasn't been easy.
Do you think technology has been a big part of your practice doing so well?
I think that it's ironic so I'll use a parallel in the church world. Everybody had left church and was watching church online. And as people are coming back, the online churches who were already prepared for that are blowing up as far as patient or not patient people, just their growth. I think that same parallel. My point is they had already adapted prior to the pandemic. I think the same thing's true with us. And there weren't a lot of pivots we had to make with the pandemic, with technology, because technology, just the simple things of sign your papers remotely, having an online scheduler, some of these things they limited, they felt safe with us. They felt like, hey, I'm not going to have to do much when I get there, just see the doctor and then go.
Yeah.
So I think being ahead of the curve technology it rewards people, if that makes sense.
I think so too, and especially where you're creating this touchless environment and you already pretty much had that, it sounds like. So they already felt safe and secure with your organization.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I think that we're pretty much out of time and our full hour is complete. And I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Fleming, for joining us today and for your presentation all about technology. I hope that everyone was able to take some tidbits of information back home to their practice so that they can actually offer more technology. They can help their team save time. They can make a more efficient workflow with their patients. And is there anything else you would like to add, Dr. Fleming, today?
No, I always have fun doing these, and so I appreciate the opportunity, Jacqueline, to be present and to um, just walk through some of these things that are a fun part of doing business and taking care of people's eyes. So thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. I can tell that you're very passionate about not only your patients, but your practice and technology as well. So thank you for sharing your expertise on our behalf today. So